Buying and selling a home at the same time is one of the most stressful things any homeowner can do. My name is Walter and this is Damaris.
And we're with RE/MAX, and this year alone we've helped several families sell their current home and move into the next one successfully. And this can be extremely challenging for some people.
And in case you guys didn't know, Damaris is my sister. We both work with RE/MAX and we've been successfully selling homes here in Westchester County for over a decade. Now, Damaris, I remember asking you what advice you would give to someone planning to buy and sell a home at the same time, and your immediate response was, don't do it.
Right, and let me tell you why, Walter. So when you're selling and buying a home simultaneously, it can be highly emotional. You're dealing with these high emotions, you're dealing with these tight deadlines, and for a lot of people, it's the fear of the unknown. So that's why it's easy to become overwhelmed, overstressed, and we really help our clients kind of plan ahead.
Another thing to keep in mind is that you're dealing with strangers. The person that's buying your home and the person's home that you're going to be buying are strangers. You don't know them. They have their own priorities, and sometimes that doesn't align perfectly with what you're trying to do. And that adds to a whole new level of stress.
And we get it. You know, the biggest worry for a lot of homeowners is that they'll end up with two homes, two mortgages that they cannot afford, right? Or even worse, they'll sell their home and not have another home to move into. So the fear of not having a home is a real thing with clients.
Yeah, they figure they're worried that they'll end up homeless, which is highly emotional. It's probably never going to happen, but this is a real fear that most people have. So we're here to share some practical advice for anyone planning to buy and sell a home at the same time. So let's dive in. First up, let's talk about contingencies. Now you may be asking yourself, what is a contingency?
So a contingency is a condition that needs to be met in order for your real estate transaction to go through. So for example, if you're buying a home and need to sell yours first, that would be considered a contingency.
The thing is, the more contingencies your offer has, the weaker the offer becomes. And if a seller has multiple offers, they're obviously going to go with the one with the least number of contingencies because it has the strongest chance to close.
So there are two big contingencies you should consider removing when you make an offer. Number one, can you buy your next home without having to sell the first one? Or number two, can you sell your home without having to buy another one? Like move into a family member's house or something like that, have a temporary place to stay once you sell.
We advise always separating the two transactions to give yourself the greatest chance of successfully completing both of them and to eliminate a ton of stress.
But we understand that this isn't always possible. So if you have to buy and sell at the same time because of financial constraints or any other reason, then keep watching. We have some tips to help you navigate through it.
Tip number one, make sure the property that you want to buy actually exists and you're willing to pay what it's worth. Start looking at homes online before you put your property up for sale to kind of get familiar with the market and what's out there.
Tip number two is you want to get an accurate price for your home and make sure you price it correctly from the start. So you don't want to overprice and waste time, especially when you're dealing with contracts and deadlines.
And in this market, it's almost impossible to underprice your home, because if you do underprice your home, you're going to attract multiple offers and the buyers are just going to bid the value back up.
So tip number three, if you're buying and selling in the same area, you want to use the same real estate attorney. Now, this may seem like common sense, but it's absolutely crucial. Your attorney needs to be fully understanding that you are selling and buying simultaneously.
Or if you're buying and selling a home in two separate locations, let's say you're selling your home in New York and buying another one in Florida, you want to make sure that your lawyers and your real estate agents are communicating effectively to make sure that all the deadlines match up.
Tip number four is understanding the on or about close date, right? So in New York, your standard contract is written with an on or about date, and you technically have 30 days from that time to get to a closing table. So an example is if your on or about closing date is September 30th, then on September 30th, your attorney's gonna give you a call, and then you can push that out till about October 30th with no legal repercussion.
This is very different than other states where if your closing date is actually September 30th, you have to close by that date, otherwise the contract is completely canceled. So tip number 5 is don't be afraid to ask for extra time when you sign your first contract. So the standard amount of time when you sign a contract to complete your real estate transaction is 2 months. Don't be afraid to ask for 4 or 5 months, which will give you extra time to complete both transactions at once.
And our last tip is to keep the lines of communication open with everyone involved. So once you're under contract, you kind of regularly want to update everyone on where you are in the process. And this is just going to avoid some surprises down the line and make sure that everything goes smoothly.
So those are our top tips for anyone planning to buy and sell 2 homes at the same time.
Now remember, every situation is unique, and we've helped many homeowners through this process, and no 2 situations have been exactly the same. So if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, then feel free to reach out.
We're here to help. Message us with any questions that you may have. We're here to make this as smooth as possible for you.
Thanks so much for watching.
See you next time.